Donald Trump held a rally in Billings, Montana, and it was really something. He brought up the topic of impeachment, which is interesting because many of the Dems running in these races, especially the leadership, don't want to talk about impeachment. Doesn't mean anybody isn't, but they don't really want to focus on it in terms of the campaigns. But that's not the impression that Donald Trump is getting. And so he spoke about this argument over his potential impeachment, and also who would be to blame if he were to be impeached, which you'll see in this clip.
They like to use the impeach word. Impeach Trump. Maxine Waters, we will impeach him. But he didn't do anything wrong. It doesn't matter. We will impeach him. You know, I was thinking, if that happened, every time a Republican or a Democrat, opposite, got elected president. So let's say a Democrat gets elected someday. Hopefully it's a long time. But let's say a Democrat gets elected. And let's say we have a Republican House. We will impeach that Democrat, right? And then a Republican. And you do, then what you're going to have is you'll have a country that's going to turn into a third world country. Because if the opposite party becomes president, every time before it even starts, before you've even found out whether or not he or she is going to do a great job, they'll say, we want to impeach him, and you'll impeach him. It's so ridiculous. But worry about that if it ever happens. But if it does happen, it's your fault because you didn't go out to vote. Okay? You didn't go out to vote.
Okay, that is one I'll give him where he did appear to be joking at least.
Yeah, my favorite part of this is, can you imagine a scenario where a Democrat is president and the Republicans try to impeach him over something silly like maybe a consensual affair? Oh right, that already happened. Did we forget that already happened? And he said throughout the rally, he's like, I mean, how do you impeach a guy who's doing really well? Well, first of all, those two things are not at all connected. So if you killed someone while the economy was doing well, you'd still get impeached, right? And the Democrat who was in office when the Republicans impeached him over something incredibly minor was presiding over an enormously successful economy, stock market booming, unemployment down, the deficit's down, turned into surpluses. So apparently it can be done, and it was done by your party.
But he didn't do anything wrong. Who cares? We'll impeach him. I do hear them say that a lot, the Democrats. He didn't do anything wrong, but we're going to impeach him. No, that's not what they're saying.
I was going to say, wait, that was you sold that because I was like, wait, I've never heard that.
Yeah, and considering all that he's done from day one, emoluments, not divesting, all of that, there's, I would say, very little talk about impeachment, honestly.
Yeah,
I mean, Elizabeth Warren brought up.
Right now.
Yeah, Elizabeth Warren brought up the 25th Amendment, but only as a result of someone inside of his White House bringing it up. That's what it took. I'm shocked that it's not more common of an argument.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that you can focus on when you're crafting a message for change. And I really am gravitating toward people who are buying the impeached shirts. I like the impeached shirts. I think they're great. I think they're funny. You should totally get one from the TYT store because they're fantastic. But also I like all of the candidates who are just focusing on issues that people generally can support, get behind, agree with, and that will benefit a lot of Americans. And a lot of the people like the Beto O'Rourke's of the world are focusing on the issues. And I'm fine with that. So Trump is just setting up a straw man of all these people who are like, oh, it's immediately going to be an impeach. It's the punchline was a joke, but the setup was even more ridiculous. That's what got me.
Right, he could have taken the time. He could have absolutely broken down everyone who has mentioned impeach and their reasons why, and he could have come up with an argument against what they're saying, but instead he just wraps it all up in something that isn't true. Yeah. They just want to do it for the sake of doing it. I never did anything wrong, or they're not saying I did anything wrong, which is not true.
And so to the point of it not being true, a couple of things. One, Nancy Pelosi is literally fighting against impeachment. Every time they ask her about it, she's like, that's not what we're going to do. That's not a priority of ours. We're not going to talk about it. In fact, I think she's panicking in the wrong direction. I don't need them to run their campaigns on impeachment. I agree 100% with Brett. Run it on healthcare, run it on economic dignity, better wages, et cetera. That's what the American people care about. Impeachment is a responsibility if the president has done something wrong. You can't shirk that responsibility because there's an election coming up and you think that, it might energize Republican voters to vote against you. And that actually seems to be the Democratic strategy. So Trump is actually saying the exact opposite of what the Democratic strategy is. There are some Democrats that he mentioned, like Maxine Waters and others, who say, yeah, impeachment. But overall, Democratic leadership's like, no, not impeachment. Not impeachment, because they're afraid to rile up Trump's base. Now, I think that's silly, but that's the strategy that they're doing. So it's the opposite of what Trump is saying. And then like his defense of the Republican Party as if like they would never do that. Like, could you imagine if they did it back and forth? I mean, other than the fact that I just explained they did do it. My God, now imagine if Hillary Clinton had won, but she wouldn't divest her money and then did some self-dealing and made deals with countries where she had personal investments, and then she wouldn't release her tax returns, so nobody ever knew what was in her tax returns and what other monies she could be making. And then she did a deal with Indonesia and China and ZTE. And then somebody wrote an op-ed saying, I'm inside her administration and she's lost her mind and you should use the 25th Amendment. And I can go on for half a day. Do you have any idea how quickly the Republicans would impeach? 2 easy ways to follow the Young Turks. One is hit the subscribe button down below. Then you're a TYT subscriber. And second is ring the bell. And when you do that on YouTube, you're notified of our videos.